I often just, I'll get my drink from Starbucks, and then before I start my day, again, from the time I wake up till the time I officially clock in at the barn, there's a lot of stuff that goes through my head. Sometimes I write a lot of it down. I want to bring it to you guys in video form. There's always a ton of information coming and going from the stable. And I want to make sure we stay on top of it best we can. Now, this morning I am driving Pull the Shoes over to Pennsylvania with me. Now, as many of you know by now, she put a line in her foot. She put a line in her foot the other day. Now, it was found after training. Was it there for a little while? Yes. And I think in the proximity of the cuff bone on the far outside of her wing is the reason that it took so long to actually present the way it did. She was lame after she raced, but then sounded up, which was so weird. Usually that screams pus pocket, high nail, something like that. But not a lot of, nothing came out of her foot. I had asked the girls after she started jogging back sound 3 days, 4 days, 5 days later, did she blow pus pocket out of her hairline? They said, not a whole lot. So I'm thinking, it must have been a high nail. So we jogged her for 3 days. Thankfully, Jason was going to put her in the bike on Saturday and train her, and the track would have been hard because it was raining hard. And he called me and said, hey, she's in Wednesday. Do you just want to train her a slow mile on Monday? Yeah, that's fine. I'm glad we did, because that could have been a much worse fracture than it was. Who knows where that fracture line would have ended up had we tried to train her on the race bike on a hard track in the rain. Ooh, that could have been bad. Anyway, she trained a mile in, I was going a mile in 25, just finishing up my mile, and she put a bad step in. And she was fine when I pulled her up. She walked back to the barn. But it was a weird step. I could tell something had happened just by the way she was after she made the break. Like she stung herself, but I'm watching her, she didn't do it. So I was a little concerned after coming out of the bath rack. She was sore on it, and we x-rayed her, and there was a line there. Now, we're always trying to look at, okay, what can we do? This is worst case scenario. She just has to stand in the stall for 4 to 6 weeks, and then we can potentially start back lightly jogging her. But the best case scenario is we can get her in foal. Right now, it's the end of breeding season. She's a very well-bred filly. I had reached out to Steve and Alan, as I generally do with the breeding. Both of them come back with Tactical Approach is the best option, breeding-wise, cross-wise. There's no Tactical Approaches out there. Although it is late in the season, sometimes, for whatever reason, people switch their mares off a stallion, or maybe the mare gets injured, or maybe they decide not to breed the mare. Maybe the mare gets sold. Who knows? But for whatever reason, once in a while, there is a breeding, an interesting breeding floating around late in the season. And there it was. We had somebody that was going to sell us a Tactical Approach breeding. So I wouldn't go as far as to say making lemonade out of lemons type thing, but it is, because I think actually with her in foal right now, she's worth a lot more than she did with a harness on. Quite frankly, she was an Nalmers 2 filly who probably would have improved to the Nalmers 3, Nalmers 4 level, the meat of the order, the horses that can do some damage in there, but not a stone cold. In a minute, Amy. Not a stone cold lock in the stakes or anything like that. So I believe her in foal is actually a better option than trying to race her through those classes right now. But again, I'm a little biased. We don't have an option. We don't have, well, no, we don't get that option. She's got a line in her foot. So that was the best thing we could do with her. And I think all things considered, it was a pretty fair pivot, if you will. Now, we have, that's not what I'm looking for. I was thinking about a lot of things today. I told you that I was very pleased with the way that Born to Dance raced last night, proved that he can do in there, but he feels like he could get better running in the turns. There's got to be something we can help him with. And after that, I think it's easy to believe that 55 and 3 could turn into 54 and a piece. We got him straight and got him comfortable and got him tight. I was happy with the way he went about his work last night. Left, never looked at anything in the first turn, left to the front, followed intently in the hole, but behaved, and then finished up well. So I was happy with his race last night. And this plays well because I have a list of horses that we could potentially sell over the next little while, and he was penciled in on there. But I think after last night, we can maybe erase him for the next little while. That class isn't going anywhere, so there's no need to go out and just rush out and move Born to Dance. So I think he's safe for now. I do think there's 3 horses we are going to end up putting on the I'll get out of here then and go back to where I said it. Putting on the sale board for this week. Where are we at? Here we are. Now, the 3 horses that I thought we could potentially look at moving would be Winter Bells, who's going to be in on Saturday. Now-Winners at 2. I hope she can do well. Now, a number of people asking, hey, and this is the time of year when the horses aren't racing good, of course, I'm going to get the, hey, what about a different trainer for Winter Bells? Dominic's our trainer, much like Harry is, much like Jason is, and we're not moving horses around to different trainers to try and suit the horse. At the end of the day, we're pretty flexible, and we're pretty broad stable, and we have a lot of affiliates, but at the same token, I'm not going to start pulling horses out of Dominic's to give it to this trainer or that trainer because I want to see if Winter Bells can go faster. At the end of the day, Winter Bells is a decent filly. She's going to make a nice little overnight filly. She's going to win the Now-Winners at 2 and probably race in the Now-Winners at 3 condition claimer for somebody in Ontario. The problem I have with that is those condition claimers don't go for near enough money in Ontario to make it worth your while even putting them in there. Like $5,300. There's no point. How are you ever going to race a horse and get ahead doing that? People will have the Grassroots or the Prospect Series that I think goes for $12,000 this year. But as far as those condition claimers, which should be beefed up, in my estimation, we should have an opportunity for people to buy a horse, realize that it's not a stake horse, and still have a place or a reason to race that horse. And at present, in Ontario, that's a tough sell. I can't bring them all over here to Northfield Park to race them in the Now-Winners at 2, into the Now-Winners at 3. At some point, we just kind of cut the cord with some of these horses. Winter Bells is one of those horses. Paycheck Princess is another one, and Vaquero Blue Chip is another one. So probably those 3 horses are going to go up for sale. The main reason being, and actually I'm wrong in saying this, Did Not Know also will go on the sale. Now the breeders, Schaefer Farms, of Paycheck Princess and Did Not Know, they own all of Did Not Know and most of Paycheck Princess, and they don't want to fool around with horses that are just going to be okay. Right? They want to do the same thing we want to do. Buy a horse and have a stake horse. Have a good horse. Have a good overnight horse. And we've put Paycheck Princess in a place to do good. Made a break in her last 2 starts. And yes, we could bring her back and, hey, maybe she could do in the Now-Winners at 2, but maybe she couldn't either. And I'm just not, if I thought that she was a slam dunk or Winter Bells in the Now-Winners at 2, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. They'd be in the burn right now and entering to go. But that's not the case. So I think those 3 now with Did Not Know, those 4, will likely head to the sale on Monday. Now, having said that, as I said, I did want to talk about what took place yesterday in Oak Grove. I can't say I was disappointed with Militant. I wish he had snuck him out in the last turn so we get a good look at whether he actually was wanting to attack like he appeared to be. He did finish up his mile well, and I was pretty happy. To see that. It was enough for me to say, well, do we need to rush out and sell this horse? I keep thinking in my head, this is the same horse that won at 57 and trotted him 56 at 2. He should be able to do in there, and if he can't, surely he can do in the Meadows, or surely he can do at Northfield Park if he can't do it at Kentucky. Lonely Lakewood, I was a bit surprised, made a break at the gate. I don't remember him doing that stuff. Eric said there was a huge rain delay. It delayed it for an hour and a half. And Joey Putnam was driving the horse and warming his horse up, so he paraded last and went right to the gate. Not ideal for a horse like Lonely Lakewood. I don't want to make excuses, say, oh, that for sure, that's what it was. I don't want to make those excuses, but it's a reality. It happened. And for me, I believe, I think we could probably see Lonely Lakewood even end up in Minnesota, right? This is a horse that I believe will come on. He's a big, strong colt. He's got a decent attitude and great pedigree. That doesn't mean anything. But it is... And then, what's this fly doing? Go away, fly. It is an interesting proposition for me, so I'm willing to wait a little bit on Lonely Lakewood. Listen, the sales aren't going anywhere, right? And when it comes to any of the horses that, if there's a glimmer of hope in my mind that they're going to be decent horses, then I have to do my due diligence, especially for you, my partners, and the horses, and say, okay, you made a break, let's try and build off that, not in the bad way. So I'll give him, he'll get a reprieve also. So Militant and him were both fair yesterday. 3-point blue chip. 3-point blue chip looks like you jammed up and got out late. And I know there was a couple of people that had messaged me and maybe were a little disappointed with the way the trip worked out. You got to remember one thing. 3-point blue chip's not a horse you want to be strung out to the quarter with. Not right now. Ernie did the right thing of retreating and looking for a hole with him, and did the right thing by not moving him, because the horse does need to be bottled up. And I know that, I know from time to time people get upset, and you guys are welcome to put whatever you want on social media. Certainly not telling anybody not to, but I would ask that everybody just take a deep breath and recognize that in this particular case, we do and probably will in the future do business with Julie Miller. Ernie Henry, I've known for 2 decades. Very nice guy. No, he's not a professional driver, but he does the best he can, same as anybody can. Depending on who you ask, I'm not either. So when we puts anything negative on Facebook, it kind of, or Twitter or anything like that, you guys can go ahead and do it, but it does cast kind of a dark light on us. We don't want to be seen as being angry when things don't work out the best they do. Of course they do. Of course I'm going to sit home and curse and swear or get angry for 10 or 15 minutes. You guys do the same thing. We're all human beings, but so are they. So I would ask that everybody be respectful, if you could, please, when it comes to social media platforms, because the people we're talking about are people that we do business with, and people that are nice people regardless, and do the best they can and work hard. So I would ask that everybody, and this is not me getting angry or upset at everybody. This is human nature. There's no problem at all. We all use social media. I use it a lot. You use it a lot. But there is 2 sides to that coin, right? So just keep that in mind if you don't mind moving forward. Again, just my request to you. Now, we talked about Pull of Shoes going over to Schaefer's to be bred today. I was, I guess, as happy as you could be. She sits at the bar, get off the trailer. I was under the assumption that she would be at the clinic for 30 days, and this would be super nip and tuck, and it will be for 10 days. 10 days, Dr. Brown and Dr. Tessa both said after 10 days, if she is manageable and there's no high weight count and things of that nature, then it appears that you probably would be out of the woods as far as infection goes. After that, 3 to 4 weeks, you could check under x-ray to see if there's very much arthritis that is or looks like it might form in that joint area, which is problematic also. And then after that, it's just a matter of healing. And as I said to Dr. Latessa and Dr. Brown, I believe Dr. Brown said 30 days in the stall and light hand walking. After that, you can put her in that equa treadmill if her wound is healed up good. And then after that, start jogging her. I would pivot at that point. I don't think we'll start jogging her at all. I think I'll probably just send her down to Kentuckiana Farms for 2-3 months. And as I said in my video last night, maybe look to have her on a similar track that we had Time Is On My Side on. And this is how highly I thought of this filly. Race her in January a few times, and then decide, yeah, I think this is a legit filly, or it just is what it is. We'll race her until try and get a good mark on her. Worst case scenario, try and get a good, and this is all if everything goes right? Try and get a decent mark on her, and if we have to, breed her. This is a Volume 8 sister, very, very well-bred filly, and the type of mare that everybody would be after and was after when we bought her. So super unfortunate accident, but it happens, and we're going to have to do the best we can to move forward, and that is my plan with She Sits at the Bar. And then Captain Incredible got great news yesterday. There was no concerns, but I did want a component of me sending him back to Ontario. Fly's going to drive me crazy. Sending him back to Ontario was to get Dr. McKee to look at him, and not that I wasn't impressed with. Mike Latessa is probably one of the most common sense vets I've ever met. Super smart guy, but as far as diagnostic tools, Dr. McKee has a few more at her disposal. She's a giant clinic there, and I just wanted the peace of mind to say, okay, I am happy with what I see, and that's exactly what Dr. McKee said. His ankles are a little round up front, just from the stress of training. Under x-ray and fluoroscope and ultrasound, there wasn't anything concerning found. What she did say, he just feels like a big growthy colt that's kind of ouchy everywhere, right? Just going through a growth spurt type of thing is what a horseman would say. Oh, he's going through a growth spurt, right? So that is what was found with him, nothing serious. She did say, if you could put him on a course adequate and give him some time. I said, Doc, he's been in 216 and I don't plan on racing him to Lexington. We have all the time in the world. She said, great. If you just put him in the pool for 3 weeks, she goes, here, I'll make it as easy as I can. If you can pick up his front ankles and flex him and he doesn't flinch, you're ready to go. I love a very common sense approach to simple problems like that. Rather than just say, oh, we'll come back and re-x-ray him and then we'll do this. Just flex his ankles. And when he tells you, hey, they don't hurt anymore, that's when he's ready to go. That's the simplest way to put it. And that's why I like dealing with Dr. McKee, Dr. Latessa, Dr. Brown. There's no, the common sense approach and the understanding of the practical veterinarian medicine angle is important. To understand what a racehorse needs, what a racehorse looks like. Not just look at something and say, this is what we need, this is what we're trying to approach medically, this is what we'd like to do. Apply that to the racing scene, to the racing industry. Use it as a filter, and now let's talk generally. And I love that you can do that with them. So that was good in that regard. Recapping quickly, Oak Grove, happy with Militant. A little disappointed that Lonely Lakewood made a break, but I'll give him a pass. 3-point blue chip, I thought raced good, all things considered. All things considered. Now, the 3 horses Pull the Shoes is hopefully going to be bred. Fingers crossed. This isn't going to be an easy breed. It isn't like, good, we'll just breed her. It's a 3-year-old filly coming off the racetrack with an injury that's going to be bred. Yes, it worked with Stay Special, but she's a 4-year-old. It's a 3-year-old, so we'll see how this plays out. And Captain Incredible happy there. Now, talking about Kentucky, we have horses that are going to be heading to Kentucky. I said to Eric, geez, man, I really feel I let you down sending these horses down there. You just didn't have a fair fight. But we're going to fix that. Right after the open house, we're going to have some babies go down there. And then shortly thereafter, you're going to have Arson, Memory, and Imagination, Pickpocket join you. Things will change in Kentucky for the stable, I can assure you of that. So in Kentucky, we have 7 stalls so far. And the horses I believe will be heading there. Arson will be there for sure. Atrant will be down there for sure. Now, Grand Slam Dio, 2 horses I have that I'm looking at. The last one would be Westland Warrior, and the first one, Grand Slam Dio. Westland Warrior is PA and Kentucky. Grand Slam Dio is New Jersey and Kentucky. Now, Grand Slam Dio I think very highly of. Do I want to send her there and get stretched out in New Jersey, or maybe just hang out in Kentucky and then wait for a nice soft track like Lexington? I'm leaning that way, but certainly not on that path yet. Same goes for Westland Warrior. Different reason. Do we want to send him down there and keep him in-house close in Lexington? We want to ship them all over Pennsylvania for the summer. I find it hard to believe that you can do both. You'd have to have an extremely durable horse to complete both. So I'm looking at one or the other, and those are 2 horses that are the 7th spot. That's assuming that all the other horses leave Kentucky, right? Lonely Lakewood, gone. I assume we might send him to Minnesota if we keep him. Militant, who knows, but he won't be there. Brace for Landing is leaving to go back to Ontario right now. Paycheck Princess will be gone sooner than later. So that leaves 7 open stalls, 7 spots. Arson, Atrant. We're going to call Grand Slam Dio and Westland Warriors spot number 3. The 2 of them, one or the other will likely be going. 4th one will be Gymboree. Then we have Memento Mori. He'll be going to Kentucky. We talked about that. There'll be no New York Stakes for Memento Mori this year, I don't believe. Pickpocket will be coming back regardless, I believe, after the race in Ontario. In 2-3 weeks' time. June 6th, I think it is. And then that final spot again, Westland Warrior and Grand Slam Deal. So 7 stalls, 7 spots, 7 pretty strong animals from what I can see, and happy there. Atrant will not qualify in Ohio. She'll be qualifying in Kentucky. Now, that leads me to my next thing. We have the open house on June the 2nd. That should be a ton of fun. We're just getting everything rolling on it now. There are some horses that won't qualify in Ohio. The ones that I can tell you right now, Allie's Got Grit, won't race till August, won't be qualifying on June the 2nd. Atrant, I just said, won't be ready to go just yet. She was on that modified training, her and Melisandre. They're not going to be ready to go right away. In fact, Melisandre isn't even going to likely go to Oak Grove. We're going to focus on Lexington with her. Captain Incredible, same thing. He's in Ontario, but we're going to focus on Kentucky with him. I'm a Trucker's in the field. I'm ready too. We're getting him ready, but is he going to be ready on June 2nd? I don't think so. Melisandre, I just mentioned her. She's not going to be qualifying on the 2nd. Pelicanal is in the field. She sits at the bar, is injured. And What a Lady, What a Night, for the exact same reasons, will not be qualifying on June the 2nd. So from where I sit, 9 or 10 horses won't qualify. That leaves 33 or 34 that will qualify on June the 6th. So with that, I'm going to let you go. A full update. A good 30 minutes of talking about the horses, or a good 30 minutes about thinking about the horses, and I brought you a 20-minute video, a 20-minute video of how I see things playing out right now, in the future, and next week. Now, I'm going to finish up here. I have a package to send out in the post office. I'm going to go hook onto the trailer and pull the shoes to Pennsylvania. I'm going to drive flash fly and come back and drive the horses tonight. So a full day for me here at the stable. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. The rain is holding off so far, both here and in Pennsylvania, I'm told. A big plus to start my Wednesday. Take care.